I'm Kyle Clark. This is Next. We begin with the state of the race. Not that race, this race. Sunday's Susan B. Komen Race for the Cure. Denver once had the largest version of the world's largest breast cancer fundraising event, but not anymore. Sunday's race will be a fraction of its former size. The fundraising will be a fraction of its former amount. That leaves Komen, an organization that's dealt with political and financial issues, to decide how to proceed next. First, some disclosures. 9 News is and has long been a sponsor of Race for the Cure, and we will provide live coverage this weekend. That fact has not interfered with Next coverage of the race's troubles. Also, full disclosure, my mother is a breast cancer survivor. I personally donated to Komen years ago, but not since it publicly got entangled in politics in 2012. We looked at Komen's old tax records and its projections for this year's race, and the numbers make for a discouraging picture. Denver's Race for the Cure used to be a behemoth. 2008, we had the largest race in the country. 64,000 people participated. This year, they're expecting 15,000, a 76% decline. Back in 2008, the race was a fundraising powerhouse, raising almost $2.3 million after expenses. This year's race is expected to bring in about $487,000 after expenses. That's a decline of 79%. And part of the trouble is that Komen hasn't been able to cut the cost of putting on the race as fast as the participation and fundraising have fallen. Yet the new CEO of Komen, Colorado says she's committed to continuing Race for the Cure.
So, race is interesting and it's a trend across the country. So we're seeing a decline, absolutely. It's still a huge, significant part of our programming.
Your largest fundraiser?
Largest fundraiser. It will always be a big part of what we do. It is significant. It's important to us in the way that we need to celebrate our work. We need to celebrate our survivors and the partnerships in our community that are really helping us address the needs of breast health.
In a little bit, we'll look ahead to the future of Komen, Colorado and its role in fighting breast cancer in our state, and also how that nonprofit is trying to meet its mission with far less fundraising from its biggest event. It's been a turbulent day for Frontier Airlines passengers. This was the computer upgrade that we warned you about yesterday, a scheduled, expected face plant that still stung. The reservation system was taken down last night through this morning. Passengers were asked to print out their boarding passes before getting to the airport, and they were told to get there 3 hours ahead of their flights. We saw long lines at ticket counters all morning. There are a few flights still delayed this afternoon, but it looks like pretty much everything's back on track. When Republican U.S. Senate candidate Darrell Glenn came on Next, he said he doesn't worry about the polls, so he won't sweat the new one showing him down 9 points. And actually, that Quinnipiac poll is a slight improvement for Glenn. Democratic U.S. Senator Michael Bennet was leading him by 12 points last month, so perhaps Glenn is cutting into Bennett's lead. Bennet leads 57 to 36% among women. It's basically tied among men, 49% Glenn, 48% Bennet. Bennet, he's unafraid to speak about issues of race in America. He's a proud African-American Republican, but minorities don't seem to be buying what he's selling. White voters split for Bennet narrowly. He leads 66 to 29% among non-white voters. Pollsters say Bennet appears to be cruising to re-election. Donald Trump has suggested that African-American voters have nothing to lose by voting for him. That went over somewhat less than well in some communities of color. Our politics guy, Brandon Ritteman, asked our political experts whether Trump or Hillary Clinton has more to lose in Monday's first presidential debate.
All right, the first debate Monday, really big moment. Who has more to lose and why in 30 seconds or less? Kelly?
I think Hillary Clinton has more to lose. She is still barely marginally ahead, but she is losing momentum and Donald Trump is gaining it. She's kind of got that whole creepy robot feeling about her, and she really needs to break that and be personable. I really don't think that she is connecting with people, sadly. And in addition to that, she's going to have some real challenges in terms of policy. She's put forth some really far left policy positions this week, and she's going to have to defend them. It's going to be tough.
And that's your time. All right, Ian, who's got more to lose and why?
I actually agree for once with my good friend Kelly here. I think Hillary Clinton has most to lose. She is ahead. I would argue it's slightly more than marginally, popular vote-wise, and in our wonderful state of Colorado. But the bar is just so much higher for her than it is for him. I mean, all he has to do is not go up there and totally bomb, and he's going to either won or have fought it to a draw. She's got a much tougher time going in there because the expectations are just so much higher for her.
Expectation game is the argument. All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will be fact-checking the bejesus out of the 3 presidential debates. Brandon, our 9 Wants to Know team, and our partners at Rocky Mountain PBS will live tweet the debates and have analysis on 9 News starting Monday night. Donald Trump dumped a new list of potential Supreme Court justice picks today, including a new Coloradan. Judge Tim Timkovich is a third-generation native of our state, went to Colorado College for undergrad and the University of Colorado for law school. Keeping it local like that. He's nominated to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals in Denver by President George W. Bush. Judge Timkovich is not commenting on potentially making the Supreme Court someday because you don't get to become an appeals judge by making bad decisions. There are 10 new names on Trump's list. The original list he put out months ago includes 4 women, including Colorado's Supreme Court Justice Allison Ide. Democrats would like Congress to confirm President Obama's nominee to replace the late Judge Antonin Scalia, Merrick Garland. We've talked a lot about the lack of political yard signs this season. It was a door sign that caught our attention in Jefferson County. It doesn't endorse any candidate. It's actually a warning to campaigns, to all of them. Here's Steve Staker.
Let's pick one out.
Anna Hannell left her job as an anchor at Colorado Public Radio a few years ago, but that's not to say her plate isn't still full.
Let's put this up higher.
Any stay-at-home mom has a full plate. Shh. And they can tell you how important nap time is.
Those things are beasts. And if you wake them up before they're ready to wake up or they don't get naps, they will devour you.
So you understand her frustration from the other day.
I had someone from Amendment 71 ring the doorbell 2 days ago. Right, like the kid was down for a half hour. Okay, let's go read books.
It made Anna realize something.
It's starting to get to the season where they're going to start knocking on my door more often than not. And I do not want that child to wake up.
She is, after all, an unaffiliated, married, female voter in what tends to be a swing county. Pretty soon, her doorbell is going to mimic the sound of a Salvation Army kettle. So she did something.
Please don't ring bell. Child napping, with little asterisks. Arrested toddler is more important to me than who or what wins this election.
She made her own brand of political signs.
I won't tell you how I'll vote. And if you wake up the napping toddler, I will vote against your campaign.
She's not trying to scare away the campaigns, just make them think twice.
I actually like talking to the people that come to my door because I like politics. And if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're not really conversing with adults most of the day, someone coming to your door asking your opinion on things is actually really exciting. But not when my kid's napping.
Like we said, Hannell used to be the afternoon anchor on CPR. She's a reporter and says that's another reason why she likes these political visits. Back when she was reporting, she had trouble getting the campaigns to talk. Now they come to her.
I just want to hear her dulcet tones, Steve.
Yeah,
Those
right?
dulcet tones.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you, Stager. Denver Broncos are committed to holding on to the naming rights at Mile High Stadium through the end of the year before they go and look for a new buyer. We just kind of assume they're waiting for the next team to weigh in with our suggestions. We won't be suggesting any cannabis company names for Mile High because we respect the NFL's principled stance against mind-altering substances. But we know the NFL does make that billion-dollar exception for beer. So while Coors Field is taken, maybe Coors Light wants to get in on the action. Can't imagine that leaving a bad taste in anyone's mouth. Come to think of it, I don't recall Coors Light tasting like anything. They could rename Mile High the American Football Warehouse. I'm not sure how Thunder would get along with the Tigers. It could become Platte River Systems Stadium, but good luck flagging down a snack vendor. I hear they specialize in secret servers. Perhaps a brand looking to revitalize its image would buy the rights. Call it the University of Colorado RTD A-Line Field at Mile High. I know the A-Line doesn't go by the stadium, but it doesn't go by University of Colorado either. People on Reddit are suggesting Casa Bonita Field, complete with cliff divers on the rim of the stadium. But chances are it would be a much larger, wealthier company that would buy the naming rights. One of Colorado's big employers. Perhaps one that would rename Mile High the Dish Bowl. No, that's no good. What about Ball Field? I actually kind of like that. Sounds classic. Going to see the Broncos play at the old Ball Field. The safest bet to buy the naming rights is probably Colorado's largest corporation, Aero Electronics. I can see it now. The home of the Denver Broncos, Aero Stadium. No. Get it off. All right, let's just leave the name the way it is until someone has a better idea. It'll be a little nippy for leaf peeping this weekend, which is less a weather tease and more just a shameless reason to say that. We'll point you toward 99 beautiful places to see in Colorado. And we continue our conversation with Komen ahead of this weekend's Race for the Cure. We look at what's next for the people who paint our state pink each year.
All right, it might be the first full day of the fall season, but it's looking a little bit more like winter up in the high country as these storms are starting to push in. This shot taken out there at Telluride, pretty stunning as we're already starting to see a little bit of white, and I think more is on the way later on tonight, especially up there in northern Colorado across Rabbit Ears Pass, Gore Pass, the flat tops, pretty much above 9,000 feet. 2 to 6 inches by tomorrow morning. If you live around 7,500, you might have a little light accumulation, but it should be melting pretty fast. This system is starting to push up into Wyoming. We still will be watching the westerly flow pushing into the state tomorrow, and that means those winds that were wicked today are still going to be with us tomorrow morning too. Snowfall coming down along I-70. If that's where you're heading this weekend, make sure you bundle it up. It's going to be very chilly out there, and certainly that snowfall sticking around for a couple of days. Tonight, mid-40s here in town. Those winds still pretty gusty. We could have a couple of light little showers cruising through as well. 20s and 30s out to the west. We stay in the 40s for eastern Colorado, and that's going to be the trend really for the next couple of days. Possibly a couple of icy little showers later on tonight. We wake up to sunshine here in Denver. Up in the high country, they're waking up to a winter wonderland. Things start to wind down by tomorrow afternoon, and I really am not imagining any rain here in the metro area tomorrow. We'll keep that out in the foothills and up in the mountains. Upper 60s on Saturday, mid 60s on Sunday, and then there you go. Summer back in a heartbeat, Kyle.
Just like that. Thanks, Danielle. Denver's Race for the Cure Sunday is expected to bring 15,000 people in pink to the streets. That's a quarter of the number of people who participated in the peak race years ago. Net fundraising revenue has decreased nearly 80%. I discussed that today with Komen, Colorado's new CEO, Carrie Calloway. How does an organization like Komen, Colorado survive and thrive with your largest fundraiser being cut by that much?
Sure, that's a great question. Here's what I will say. Looking back at the history of Komen, not only here locally in Colorado, but across the country, it was started as a grassroots organization. So Race for the Cure was it. It was started by Race. It was a way to engage folks, engage survivors, help create awareness about breast cancer. What we've learned is that we need to become smarter and a little more sophisticated with our fundraising efforts. So we know that an event-based fundraising model may not be the best way to push and drive total revenue.
Komen, Colorado has a lot less money to give than it used to. Where are you committed to still giving, and where do you have to say somebody else is going to have to pick up the slack?
Yeah, we're trying to be smarter. We know where the money needs to go. We know that there are certain demographics across Colorado that unfortunately are impacted by breast cancer more than others. So the African American community, the Hispanic Latina community, folks who are under and uninsured and need to have the education and the ability to get screened early on to help improve that survivorship rate.
So if you're focused on the early diagnosis in communities of color where the mortality rate is higher, I assume that means that you're not able to give as much for research or as much for treatment support.
Mm-hmm. So research is always has and always will be a large part of what we fund. Research is a very, very significant focus on the national level. So this year, we were still able to invest $460,000 in research, less than what we've done in prior years because our fundraising is down, but it still is an important contribution for us.
Leslie, let me ask you, how much of the national back and forth about Komen that was so big in 2012 and 2013, how much of that still lingers in people's minds? How much of that perception are you guys still fighting today?
Yeah, a little bit. It pops up a little bit. We're focused on a new day. We're focused on increasing revenue. We're focused on making larger impact. And I think it's great to see that coming down from the leadership and going across the country.
Carrie Calloway, the new CEO of Komen Denver, thank you for your time. Good luck with the event this weekend.
Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it.
We're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and it's clear some Coloradans want none of it. Our Jonathan Gonzalez has some thoughts on that. And this pig is happier than a pig in shit, because while he is a pig in shit, he also has a story to tell. Next. Hey, may I make a recommendation? This is where we point you towards something, anything that isn't ours but is pretty awesome. I'd love to get out this weekend, just don't know where to go. How many times have you heard that? Suck it up, Buttercup. Colorado.com has 99 ideas for you this weekend. 99 gorgeous places in our state, postcard places as the website calls them. Everything from Maroon Lake in Aspen to the Royal Gorge Bridge to Dinosaur National Monument. The site has a little write-up about each postcard scene along with information on nearby towns. You can find the link on the Next Facebook page, which is where you can make a recommendation for us to share with the rest of Colorado. You can always get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. 9 News posted an ad asking for viewers to send in photos as they celebrate Hispanic heritage. Instead, we mostly received hate from people angry that Hispanic Heritage Month exists. Our Jonathan Gonzalez wants to know why the conversation over race and culture in this country seems to be stuck.
I think we can. I think that you, me, us, we are capable of having a conversation about ethnicity, culture, race.
Don't try to define us. Our existence is far too complex to place us in any boxes.
Too many people were too easily offended by our ads promoting Hispanic Heritage Month. Many of you weren't afraid to leave the hate in the comments section. You see, that's easy. What's hard is trying to get you to answer the question, what about race and ethnicity makes you afraid at all? Hispanic Heritage Month is meant to celebrate our culture, not take away from yours or anybody else's. Want to celebrate white history? Go ahead. We have days that celebrate Irish Americans, Polish Americans, Jewish Americans, German Americans, and all these celebrations of all cultures all became nationally recognized under white presidents, from LBJ to Ronald Reagan.
Family, roots, tradition, corazón.
So we're going to celebrate Hispanic heritage to give you a glimpse and not deny what Latin Americans mean to this country. And if you still want to hate, don't leave it down in the comments section. Reach out to me, reach out to us. Let's talk. I think we can. So why don't we?
It's not that Lucky the Pig wouldn't have been super tasty, he probably would have been, but he just wasn't destined to be on a dinner plate. He escaped from a slaughter truck near Firestone last year. A truck driver never claimed Lucky, so he ended up getting adopted by the Hog Haven Farm out in Deer Trail. He is now 650 pounds of happy, and he is celebrating 1 year of freedom this month. Next, will never leave you hanging at the end of a long work week without a reason to smile. Our Friday tradition here is hitting the streets, this time in Golden, to ask all of you a simple question. What is your good news? As always, do not email us and say this isn't news. Of course it is, and it's real life, and that matters too.
Well, my good news is that I'm able to come out and enjoy God's given sun, grass, mountains, beautiful views.
Good news that I'm a grandma. Yeah, enjoying that. I don't know what to say. It's just so much fun. I'm enjoying every minute of it.
I had a couple tragedies this year, and it's just a blessing to be alive. You know, I'm still kicking.
Well, I coach a middle school team in Denver at KIPP, and we won yesterday.
I love playing pickleball, and I play pickleball every day. It's my happy sport.
Well, life is good because we got a beautiful family and it's a beautiful day. We're getting a dog tomorrow from a rescue, and it's going to be a fun weekend.
Time now for your feedback to close the week. Just in on Twitter, Giamondo writes, "Love Next. Got the guts to tell it like it is. Station to Station doesn't agree. Next is not cute or clever. It's actually become nauseating. Station to Station. Wonder what other station would be writing to us." And Illini Jeff, always change the channel at 6 p.m. when Kyle Clark's show comes on. Thanks, Illini Jeff, and go Northwestern. See you next time.